substance. I mean that which is in itself and is conceived in itself. Has an identity of its own. It is in itself. It is conceived through itself. You can think of it in isolation of it from anything else. Now, that was Descartes' way of talking about substance. It's pretty well a Cartesian definition, that far. But notice how he understands that in the second clause. In other words, well, now he's going to put the definition in other words. By substance, I mean that of which a conception can be formed independently of any other conception. He's not simply saying you can think of it isolated from other things, but you can form a conception independently of anything else. There are no implications, logical implications, dangling towards other things. There are no logical assumptions about other things involved. So he seems to have defined substance as that which in no sense is dependent on other substances, you see, or as other substances dependent on it. Now, that's why I think he's defined substance in such a way that there can only be one. You see. That definition is crucial. Now, get those two definitions, 1 and 3, together, and it seems to me that definition 6, his definition of God, follows. By God, I mean a being absolutely infinite. That is, a substance consisting in infinite attributes of which each expresses eternal and infinite essentiality. Now, God is a substance of infinite attributes. Now, with infinite attributes, you see, what you're saying is that God is an independent being that is all-inclusive. Each attribute expresses eternal and infinite essentiality, yes, whose essence is to exist, that's why he's a being, necessary being. So you can see the implications of these definitions standing out right away. They are definitions which clearly now we can see are anticipating what comes later. And look at the proposition number 1. Proposition number 1. Substance is by nature prior to its modifications. Proof. This is clear from your definitions of substance and mode. Proposition 2. Two substances whose attributes are different have nothing in common. That's evident from definition 3, for each must exist in itself, be conceived through itself. The conception of one doesn't imply the conception of another. And proposition 3, things which have nothing in common cannot be one the cause of another. Sorry, Descartes, that was the trouble with the mind-body problem, wasn't it? Things which have nothing in common cannot be the cause one of another. You see? Then proposition 5, there cannot exist in the universe two or more substances having the same nature or attribute. Proposition 6, one substance cannot be produced by another substance. And let's see, by the time you get to proposition 6, that means that God and nature cannot be two separate substances. Proposition 7 says substance is self-existent. Proposition 8, that every substance is a necessary being, self-existent. Proposition 11 says that God or substance consists of infinite attributes of which each is essential, that God necessarily exists. And finally, proposition 14 draws the conclusion, besides God, no substance can be granted or conceived. And proposition 15, to cap it, whatever is in God, and without God, nothing can be or be conceived. And so there is only one God, only one substance, God or nature. Okay? So the God and nature turns out to be God or nature. The phrase that he used, Deus sive natura, God or else